Hey, Mark, welcome to the Guild.
Hey, Joe. Thanks for the invitation. It's a pleasure to be back.
Great
And
to have you.
I just wanted to make the point that I've seen you've been very busy lately in promoting AI and testing, and I think a lot of people have a lot to say about it. And hopefully, the audience we have today, which I appreciate y'all joining,
Yep.
will see how ConformIQ does things maybe a little bit differently than the others out there.
Absolutely. Like I mentioned, we had you on the podcast and you gave us a different point of view of the different types of AI that could be used. I think a lot of people not talking about. So I'm really excited about this session.
Okay, well, I'm excited to get started and get feedback from the audience.
Let's do it.
Okay, well, welcome all, and just to kind of give you an overview of what we'll be talking about today is I'll give you a little background on me and the company, and then what we look at from how AI can be used in testing. And as I mentioned to Joe, I think we do it a little bit differently. And interestingly, we've been doing it a very long time, which we'll talk about. And then talk about you just don't jump into AI. There's some things you need to do to prepare, and then we're actually going to show you our solution with the help of my team. They've created a demo which we'll display as a video, and we'll start and stop and show you how the solution looks. So I will look really clever because of my team behind the screen, so to speak, to show you how our solution looks, and then we can talk about as we go through how you might be able to use this approach in your testing approaches. So with that, I'll talk a little bit about ConformIQ. And if you know ConformIQ, we've actually AKA Conformic, have been around for a long time. And interestingly, ConformIQ has embraced many years ago, over 20 years ago, one aspect of artificial intelligence to automatically generate test cases, which people are using Gen AI now to do that. But we do it in a way and with a technology called Symbolic AI, and that technology is a little different. We'll talk about how that compares to other types of AI, in our solution. But we've been doing it for over 20 years, and it's a high quality, repeatable, high value solution that customers from all over the world have been using. And the interesting point is, I've been with ConformIQ for a little over 12 years now, and we've been deploying AI. But for me as a engineer, business person who's been working with ConformIQ, I had a concept and a vision actually back in 1983 when I got my MBA when I was working for Hewlett Packard. And I wrote a paper on how AI could deliver value to the technology world back in 1983. So AI has been around a long time. It's become more apparent with the availability of Gen AI, but this is something that has kind of been a passion for me for a long time. And with the availability of Gen AI and the approach ConformIQ has had for years, I see how we can provide significantly more value to people who are doing software testing today. So I'm excited to be here and excited about how we might share that with you. So with that, I will jump into my presentation and share with you some of the feedback that I've been getting from customers and prospects in terms of the expectation you all have for Gen AI. And it's interesting because the expectations, some are maybe realistic, but they're very high, to the point where, if you look at, well, why would I even have to test my software anymore? I can use Gen AI to do that. Well, we'll talk about some of the risks in the downside of Gen AI and maybe how some other AI implementations can help. But certainly increased efficiency is something that people are looking for, and we've seen a lot of that being delivered in terms of the software development side of things. But in terms of the test execution side, there's a lot of information that needs to come together and to effectively automate test execution as part of your testing process, and bringing all that together in a way that Gen AI can be really effective is something that takes a lot of preparation and a lot of management. So from that standpoint, we'll talk about how ConformIQ is doing that, but it's not something that happens without some work on your side. The other aspect, which is interesting, is people expect, through OpenAI, you can get access to ChatGPT for effectively nothing, but there's a huge investment behind that, and to tailor and customize the solutions for Gen AI for a particular environment that you're working in, there is an investment required, and the computing power and the data requirements, as the solutions get more and more complex, are huge. And it's something that you need to be aware of and look at as part of, hey, where do I invest? Where do I not invest? And those are some of the things that we'll be talking about. So it's not a zero cost solution, but if done right, delivers huge value. So with that, let's talk about a little bit about some of the things you need to be aware of when using Gen AI, and we'll focus on that first before we get into the other types of AI. And the decision making and the ability to generate test cases and that kind of thing, it actually works reasonably well in a simple environment when the data and the complexity of the application is not too high. So you can get really good feedback really quickly, and we'll show you a demo of how that works. Using an LLM, to create Gherkin code, as part of our process, which can be used for testing and executing tests along the way. But the key point you take away from this slide here is really number 6. You really need to have some sort of review or control process in place, based on where and how you want to use AI, because AI can create, or suggest components like data, in your testing process, and if it's not correct, and if you're not reviewing it, then you'll get results that won't match with your expectations. So you got to be able to look at all the aspects of how you use AI, how you evaluate the outputs, how you invest in the infrastructure, and then along the way have checks and steps and controls to ensure that what you're getting is going to deliver value to you as a company. So these are some things that are really important, and we'll talk about that in terms of AI readiness when we look at the potential solution.
And Mark, I just have a quick question. We're getting some things in the chat. I just want people to know what you're going over applies to all Gen AI and AI in general, not specific to ConformIQ right now. So when you're talking about all those,
that's correct. Yeah.
Yep. Awesome. Thank you.
Yeah. So so it's kind of like what's happening in the industry, and then we'll focus in on specifically what ConformIQ is doing and how we've gotten there. So we've talked a lot about Gen AI. The fact that it's readily accessible really makes it has really transformed the AI industry in the last few years. But interestingly, a lot of these other components have been available for 20 years. Symbolic AI, for instance. So symbolic AI is really kind of an embedded type of AI. So you may not know that the solution is actually using AI. Probably the best example of it is when IBM built a computer to play chess against Gary Kasparov, in the 80s, and they had built a computer called Deep Blue. Well, that was symbolic AI. It basically looked at all the options that are available and the probabilities associated with one move and one response and so on, and basically looked at that entire state space and then brought it back based on rules to recommend the next move on a chessboard. And Deep Blue did beat Gary Kasparov, who was the world's champion chess player, at that particular point in time. But that was an application-specific implementation of AI and symbolic AI, and that's actually the baseline technology ConformIQ is used for creating an optimized set of test cases and or a targeted set of test cases for the specific testing that you're doing. So that's embedded. Machine learning and reinforced learning approaches are kind of some underlying technologies that are used pretty much in a lot of different types of AI, like Gen AI, where your approach based on new data and so on gets more intelligent, more smarter as part of the process. But there's other technologies which are implementations of AI, like natural language processing, which it can be used, obviously in translators and those kind of things. But in testing, there's a lot of value for that because the differences and nuances in terms of the communication process can get confusing, and you can apply some natural language techniques as part of the test case creation and the test case execution process when you're creating the test cases and the test scripts for execution. And this is a technology that ConformIQ is embedded in our solution for years as well. And then vision systems, the approach there, particularly when you're doing user acceptance tests or getting an understanding of how the screen is laid out and how you interact and those kind of things. This kind of technology has been used by a number of companies for years as well. But the interesting point is, if you look at kind of the lower line here, there's a cost impact of all these approaches, and particularly if you have a specific tuned Gen AI solution with an LLM with terabytes of data and CPU processing power. It could be tens of thousands of dollars a month just in hardware costs to implement a solution like that. Where things like symbolic AI and some of the actually some of the implementations of natural language processing are much lower cost because you can have a very targeted implementation and reduce the cost, but get the same or better in more predictable results. So this is something that you'll need to be looking at when you start looking at investing and deploying artificial intelligence solutions for your testing infrastructure. And that's kind of gets us to the next step is, are you ready? Have you done the assessments? Do you understand what how your organization works today, and then understand how AI is going to impact your people, your processes, your infrastructure, the investments you need to make? It's not a simple question to answer, and frankly, ConformIQ, it really provides a solution that is designed to integrate into your infrastructure, so you can take advantage of a lot of your existing testing assets. But there's an array of consulting companies that can help you prioritize and make those decisions, to ensure that you get the best results. And this is something that I see a lot of our current customers and us also prospects that we're talking to are investing in that, to ensure that what they do invest in is going to get them good results and have minimize any negative impacts on the organization as you embrace these new technologies. So it's really important that you look at where you want to invest, understand the impact, build the KPIs and targeted ROI as part of that investment before you actually go out and make these investments. Because maybe an individual working in a corner is fine, but when you push this out into a large organization, can have a significant impact and probably unexpected results based on what you had hoped for. So make that investment up front. Work with the experts or hire the experts to ensure that you get the results that you're looking for. So with that, I want to talk a little bit about the ConformIQ approach, and then we'll get into a demo. I think we're doing all right on time here. So what we've done, and as I mentioned, ConformIQ has used Symbolic AI to automatically generate an optimized set of test cases with an NLP integration to basically create executable test scripts for what our customers have already chosen as a test execution framework. What happens in the larger companies, they've made investments, they have assets, they have test cases, they have execution frameworks that fit well into the requirements management, test management, infrastructure, the release process that's been built by the companies who invested in the software creation process. And those investments have been significant. So our technology takes advantage of those, and we use our Creator product to basically, and we'll show this in the demo, automatically generate those test cases and have them ready for automated execution, which then go into the CI/CD process and either pass, fail, or self heal as part of that execution process, and then basically come back and get the software ready for release. Now, this is kind of what's exciting about the combination of Gen AI and the Symbolic AI and NLP that we've been using is getting the models created. Frankly, it has been a challenge for us and our customers for years. And we've built a variety of different solutions to automate that process. Well, thanks to Gen AI, we now can front end our deterministic test case creation process for system level models, large complex you know application descriptions that frankly don't work well with Gen AI in terms of just test case creation. And we can use Gen AI to help us create those models, combine those models, in our system level design tool, but and do that automatically with the support and help of a Gen AI solution. So,
Mark, really quick,
yeah.
Did you explain what is symbolic AI? Did you define what it is? If people are wondering, I know what Gen AI is, but what is symbolic AI?
Okay, so the analogy I drew was Deep Blue, the IBM
Yep.
Technology that was developed by IBM, and so for those mathematicians or engineers, and I kind of are one of them, the technology basically creates a state space of all possible solutions. Yeah. So, if you're, using it to, come up with your next chess move, it looks 100 moves ahead. It looks at all the possible solutions, and based on rules and algorithms and business rules and so on, it looks at the probabilities, and then it reduces it down to the next move being, one move on a chessboard. So it looks at all the possible solutions, and then based on rules brings it back to a recommended next step. Well, that's what our solution does with test case generation. It looks at based on the system level description of your application, and we'll show that in the demo. It'll look at all the possible paths, all the information associated with data and how it impacts, and whether the functionality will, is represented properly. It'll look at all the possible paths and then say, okay, my goal and the business rules are to basically make sure we cover all the paths, in the application and program, but do it with the least amount of data and test cases. So we'll go through that process, look at hundreds of thousands and come back and basically create 50 test cases that cover all the paths. So you can much more efficiently now do your testing. You can ensure the quality of the results based on the test cases that are created. You'll see how you do that, and that's the technology associated with looking at all those and then bringing it back into an optimized set of test cases is symbolic AI. Hopefully that answered your question.
Yeah, a lot of people said the chess was a good example, but I just wanted to make sure they're clear when they see this how it's going to be applied to a solution in general. So I think that was a great explanation. So thank you for that.
Okay. So we've kind of talked about the flow, how we start with requirements, use Gen AI to get us to a point where we can create Gherkin, and then based on that Gherkin we created and to a specific user story or scenario, we can then take that into our system design tool, Creator, and perform things that you really can't do at the Gherkin level, at the BDD level, and then combine those scenarios to create that system level model so that you can get an optimized set of test cases, for the system level and regression testing. But you can use the Gherkin that's created from requirements using a Gen AI solution to get the process started. So that's what we're gonna see in our demo today. So with that, I'm going to switch over to, the demo has been running. So, okay. And if you missed it, we'll go back and do it all over again. So hopefully you can see now the requirements that are written in a Word document that we're going to be starting with to move along this journey. So can you see the webinar demo V3 on your screen?
Customer registration and login retrieval.
Yep. Yeah. Okay. So starting the demo, basically it starts with, kind of a natural language description, and this is different for every customer. So, this is just an example, and we're keeping it simple, and be more than happy to share how this might work with your environment and so on. But what for demonstration purposes and for the purpose of this webinar, we're keeping it pretty simple, so that I can get the points across, and then we can get into more detail, or you can ask questions along the way, because I do have, the team being able to answer more technical questions in the chat box there. So, but we start with the requirements, and oftentimes it's alphanumeric. It could be a picture. It could come from ALM or Jira, or but the bottom line is you have your description here, and we kind of go through the requirements, and we take those requirements, and we're going to import those into our visualizer tool, and that's what you saw. We just hit import, and we're importing those requirements into our visualizer tool. And actually, as part of that import process, it initiates an LLM that converts those requirements into a Gherkin file. And interesting point here is our visualizer tool. One of the things we've done, to make Gherkin and facilitate, more effective communications, is we leverage our experience with model-based testing, so that when we create a Gherkin file, we also create a flow diagram that is automatically created at the same time. So
that's cool.
The point is, most people are looking at Gherkin this way. We give you the ability to look at it either way, which is more efficient, so you can understand actually what's really going on in that Gherkin code. So, that's kind of a cool thing, and we can show you, more detailed demos there. But this is an interesting point that I'd like to take a moment. So, we with our LLM, which has kind of been tuned and gotten smarter, so it was, very effectively created that Gherkin file. But as it gets more complex, it gets more difficult. But one of the things you look at here is our LLM said, "Oh, well, there should be data, as part of this scenario," and it made stuff up. It was incomplete or incorrect, an error message. It didn't know that information was not in the the requirements. So the LLM made it up. So where, at the second level, it didn't make it up because the information was there for that example. So this is a key point that you got to understand and deal with when you're using Gen AI, for creating things like test cases and or Gherkin, for that matter. You have to have a control point, or an environment that you can see whether or not what was created with your LLM is correct. And actually, that's kind of what Visualizer does. That's the control point. That gives you the visibility into, hey, my Gen AI's created Gherkin. Is it correct? So, I have multiple ways to look at it, multiple ways to see it. so I can ensure before I go to the next step, my AI is performed as needed. And this is something that you really should be looking at when you are implementing Gen AI solutions in your environment. So we'll go to the next step, and we'll export that so that it can then be imported into our creator tool, which is the MBT tool. So, here we are. Here we are with creator, and we're importing that in. We're creating a new project, and what you'll see is that Gherkin code has been automatically converted and created. Here we go, an MBT model. So this model was created from importing that Gherkin code that was created from requirements, and when we started this journey. So now we're moving along, and like, why would I want to go into MBT versus just use BDD? Because the Gherkin code, their test cases and so on, and we'll talk a little bit about why and where you'd want to use MBT to complement your requirements and BDD capture. So not only does our MBT tool integrate with all the the other tools for test execution, test management, and so on, you have capabilities in an MBT tool, which I'm going to show you here. Is we're going to connect a loop back to the starting point in MBT, which frankly BDD does not have the concept of loops. So if you want to enhance your description and or the logic of your application, you have much more flexibility of doing that in an MBT environment versus a BDD environment. And what I'll also talk about here is this is just one scenario. Well, if I have 5 scenarios and those 5 scenarios interact, I can import those into my creator tool, integrate those together, and then basically create those test cases in an MBT environment, which are optimized or targeted for risk-based analysis, or basically gives you the ability to create test cases in the context of a system versus just an individual scenario. So, and this is really important for complex, finance or telecom applications, and we have customers using this approach to deal with the complexity that you struggle with on just using a BDD user story or scenario. So what we're doing now is adding that loop, and then we're going to load that model here and then generate the test cases from the BDD model. And what we're showing here is you're getting coverage as those test cases are being created. So you get basically 100% coverage, and we'll show you how that looks when we relate to the test cases that have actually been created down here in this window. So we just automatically created those test cases. Our impact analysis shows that we have 100% coverage, and we'll show and review in that model. When I click on that test case, I opened up a new window here. It shows that test case covers this flow of the model as in its entirety. So, and I'll click on another test case, which also shows the flow it actually tests as part of that test case. So you have using MBT more visibility into what are you testing, which test cases are what, and which test cases you want to run for your test execution. Now we need to get to the automation side of things, and I think for you, more experienced guys, what you'll see here is we're loading the model, and we'll actually basically generate the step definitions specifically for automated execution. And I think the sophisticated test automation engineers realize you need to have the information from the application to needed for automated execution. And in this demo, we didn't scan the application because we didn't have the application available, but it shows how in the step definitions you would basically have the execution information in there that would be added as a result of scanning the application and then linking the step definitions with the execution information to get your automated test execution pretty much for any framework that you want to target. This one we use WebDriver IO. We have standard Selenium, Robo, and the likes. So you have a lot of options in terms of what execution environments that you want to target. You can do that as part of it. You can just specify which execution environment you want to target, and you submit the execution code. You don't have to create any of it yourself, and the execution framework will do the execution. So, with that, that is the demo, and now it's really kind of open. We have 18 minutes time for Q&A, and
Mark, really quick,
and any other questions you have? Yeah.
Jim wanted to know when it generates everything, does it also generate test data as well? How does it handle test data when it generates the test?
Very, very good question. So actually, for simplified test data, it does do that. But both on the visualizer side and the creator side, it's designed to have the business analysts, and the test engineer provide that test data as part of the process. So, for simple, boundary value analysis and that kind of stuff, it will create test data. But for application specific, pairwise analysis and so on, we basically expect that test data to be provided into the environment. And actually, that's a good application for Gen AI, to provide that. So we don't have a solution there today, but today we get our test data, from the QA organizations, and they input that into the model.
Yes. Mark, if you could stop sharing your screen, we just want to see a full screen so we really can have a good conversation going here. I guess another question someone had really quick, I think it was Zach. They're using ConformIQ already. I think the answer is yes. He wants to know the Symbolic AI is already part of it, right? Wasn't it created with Symbolic AI from the start?
Yes. Yep. It's embedded.
Nice.
You've been using it. You just may not have known it.
Right. Nice. All right. So let's look at some of the poll results for the first poll.
Is that screen better? Is that screen better for you?
Much better. Thank you.
Okay.
Yeah, I'll get to the questions in a second, the poll questions. So quick question here is, what do you see as the role of the future testing if most of the work can be done by AI? I guess some people will still be needed, some manual processes, but some of the positions will be obsolete, right?
Things will change. For sure.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, there's there's no doubt about that. But the test case generation and the transition from requirements to test cases and or uh, the gherkin, you have to have controls in place, because if you don't and you expect it to be correct all the time, it's just not going to work that way. It's not the way it is.
Absolutely.
So you need to have um, you know you know the skilled resources that you have today to review and ensure that the AI product is what you expect and is doing what you want to do.
It's almost like we need to become testers again, not code junkies, right? I actually understand the application, how to test and know how to test it and make sure the AI is testing it correctly. Right. Next question is, what governance mechanisms should be in place to trace AI's decision making in critical systems like healthcare or finance testing? This is from Jay.
Yeah, no, that's a really good question, and it's I go back to kind of the comment I just made. You need to have the control points before you pass it from the Gherkin code. You need to ensure that your developer, your BA, and your tester are in sync. That what's being represented is correct. Now, so that's one step of governance, and it's the standard review processes that you probably already have in place today. Now, what you get with symbolic AI, particularly when as I showed, how the test cases cover the certain paths, in the model, that process, particularly for a complex system, I showed you a matrix there which highlighted that you have 100% coverage, and you don't necessarily have 100% coverage with Gen AI. You don't have that validation. So with the symbolic AI, you can have the quality assurance and the guarantee deterministically, because it'll give you the same result every time, that the coverage is there and it's in place. And these are controls that are necessary for financial and life science type applications.
Absolutely. Yeah. If you would get audited by the FDA or something, you could say, here's the results, here's the coverage.
Yeah, here it is. Yep.
Nice. Yep. All right. So next question is, how can AI be integrated with frameworks like Playwright, Cucumber, Selenium, and Power Automate? Are there specific use cases where AI could enhance these tools' capabilities?
Okay, so I mean, it's a good question. We have customers doing that today. So where the scripts that we generate from the test cases in Creator, we have standard ones already, targeted for, Selenium, Robo, UFT, Tosca,
Yes.
whatever execution framework that you want to use. It's just a push of a button, and it will automatically generate those test cases for those targeted execution environment. Cucumber, Selenium, whatever. Yeah. So yeah, they're available today.
I guess I have a follow up. With your AI, can it diagnose or interpret errors in the framework? If a failure is caused, or because it writes the test, you wouldn't have these failures. I'm not sure how the system works.
Sure. I'm not sure I understand the question. Maybe the man behind the curtain could do a better job answering that question for me.
Are you using ChatGPT 4 as your LLM?
No, we're not. We have we've built an LLM. I don't know the details of it, but we've customized it specifically for testing applications. So, but it's not ChatGPT.
Okay. Another person asked which Gen AI model is being used.
Maybe Alexis can comment on that specifically in the chat box.
Right. I'm just going through the questions. All right, next one is the solution only generates the step definition skeleton class. Where's the web page locators?
Yeah, I tried. It's a good question, and those web page locators happen as a result of a scanning technology that we have, for the web pages, and it integrates them together in making the scripts available specifically for the automated execution. So that was missing in our in a live demo interaction. We can show you how that works specifically.
Nice. Someone asked, in general, if someone has a browser cloud solution where they run against all devices, can they run these tests against any system in the cloud? Or
these tests are platform independent. They can run anywhere.
Nice.
Yeah.
Sorry, I missed. Is this editor open source or is it developed by ConformIQ?
The visualizer editor with the modeling connection is developed by ConformIQ, and it's available through Atlassian. So the pricing is extremely reasonable.
Nice. How does the export of the generated test case work? Is it possible to import them into Jira, for example, in the correct format with steps and so on?
Yep. Yeah. So basically, we integrate with any requirements and/or test management or product that's available on the market. From you've got ALM, Jira, all those integrations are available today.
Okay. When you mentioned symbolic AI as an example of how AI has been around for a long time, my understanding is that symbolic AI is mostly used for functional testing versus UI testing. Is that correct?
Well, yes, we're using symbolic AI for functional testing. We have customers using it for UI testing as well. It has the ability to do a variety of different things, even API testing for that matter.
Someone asked, why do I need symbolic AI? I think you covered that, but in a
it's a good question because you get back to deterministic versus non-deterministic.
Yep.
You get the test cases from Gen AI. You don't know whether or not you have the coverage. You don't know whether they're correct, and particularly as you get more and more complex, you really need the ability to assure that you get the coverage or you can generate the test cases in a way that you can execute your testing infrastructure much more efficiently than you would be able to with Gen AI.
Nice. Someone asked in the comment, can this be used to test APIs as well for API testing?
Yeah, so we do generate API tests as well. The Wisdom Waddle type of testing, and we really do that more in the context of complementing our functional testing. If you want to focus specifically just on API testing, it's probably not the right tool for you.
Gotcha. Okay. A few people ask this anytime someone shows Gherkin. Why are you using Gherkin? Why not just generate test cases directly?
So, Gherkin is more than just a language. It's a process, and it's like the way we look at it here at ConformIQ. It's a way to effectively ensure the communication between the three amigos, which you may or may not have heard, is the business analyst, the developer, and the tester. Really comes together effectively. And when you use that, the structure that Gherkin provides can effectively be used to build a system model, not just a specific scenario. And if you're using Gen AI just to generate test cases, it's a haphazard process. So what you want is to be able to have a process that's well defined with control points, so that you ensure that you're building and testing what you're building. You're building what you want and testing what you're building. And then the symbolic AI in the system level model, basically looks at scenarios that no human can look at, because of the complexity of the application and the scenarios associated with the connections between, all the different, user stories and so on. So, if you're building a very simple application, you may not need symbolic AI. That's fine. If you don't have to ensure compliance and coverage, fine. Don't don't invest in symbolic AI. But if you have an impact and the potential impact of errors that could have great exposure, either financial or otherwise, at your company, you really need some the value that the ConformIQ Creator product delivers in terms of system level modeling and test case generation.
Yeah, 100% agree. I was speaking to someone that works for clinical trial software, and I'm like, you need to check this out because this sounds like something you definitely get some value out of. So this next question is this tool capable to being used for gaming industry testing as well? For example, comparing images, 2D and 3D?
Vision systems are, used for those kind of things. Our solution does not provide a vision system, but there are vision systems out there that do that.
Right. One question, I think you just answered the question before, was why do I need a specialized solution? Why not just use ChatGPT?
Well, if you use ChatGPT, your data is available to the world.
True.
Yeah, and then you can use the business version, of that. But the value of a custom LLM that's targeted for testing
Yep.
Makes that learning process and the results much more effective than if you use just ChatGPT.
Nice. I guess this is a fairly common question you must get asked. How does it work with updates to the automations? I guess requirement changes or the software changes. Does it regenerate the test cases for you?
Yeah. So good question, because there's a process that you want to link your requirements to your test case generation process. So you'll need to have a process in place where how do I keep my system model in sync with my requirements, and that's something that needs to be built in. So if my requirements change or updated, I can basically generate a new set of test cases using the visualizer product. But if I want to include that and integrate that with my system level model and look at these changes in the context of regression, then I would have to import that back into the system model and then regenerate the test cases there. But all that's done automatically. So you need to have the processes in place to manage the updates the way you want to do that.
Absolutely. So thanks again, Mark, for joining us. I really love this topic on symbolic AI. I think it's an area that a lot of people aren't focusing on. You all have it nailed. So I just want to give you any parting words of wisdom before we go.
Well, I just want to thank everybody for joining, and thank you all for the questions, and we really appreciate the opportunity to share with you in more detail how it might specifically work in your environment. So go to our website and request a demo, and then we'll talk in more detail to see how you can take advantage of all these new exciting things that are happening in the world of AI and testing.
Absolutely. Well, thanks again, Mark. Really appreciate it, and thank you for all you do. Appreciate it. Thank you. Cheers.
Thank you, Joe. Appreciate it.